Hello, greetings, everybody. My name is James. I am from the internet, and today we are going to be talking about political divisiveness. Now, for as long as I can remember, conservative Republicans and liberal Democrats have been engaged in a state of constant warfare, a battle of ideas and elections, and it has gone on since I first became aware of it sometime in the 2nd or 3rd grade, and it has never stopped, and it has only gotten worse. Fast forward a solid 40 years, and it turns out that not only is this continuing to happen, but that the Republicans have somehow come out of all of this on top. Even though the two parties are so far divided, you would think that everything would kind of split down the middle. But when it counts, when it comes time for elections and votes, Republicans and conservatives circle the wagon, support each other, and more often than not, end up winning elections. It's why they control so many state houses, so many voter registration boards. And this is why they are able to literally alter the playing field underneath the feet of Democrats and liberals. However, there has been a recent turn of events over there in GOP land, something to do with somebody with a name that rhymes with Frump. Apparently, the Republican Party is now experiencing the same schism within itself that it has purposely affected within the country to separate Democrats from Republicans. Now conservatives are trying to separate themselves between lines of real conservatives and mere rhinos, Republicans in name only. You know, the Republicans who aren't evangelical Christians or don't own MAGA hats. And it looks like this problem is getting worse just in time for the midterm election. So, I want to show you what this looks like and then maybe hazard a guess as to what kind of influence this is going to have on both the midterms and the 2024 presidential election. Here we go. Let's start off with CPAC last week. CPAC, of course, that great political conference where conservatives and talking heads from around the country come to give and listen to speeches about how America is awesome and everybody to the left of Ronald Reagan is a communist. Conservatives love this. It is their favorite event of the year. They get all gussied up and rent expensive hotel rooms, and they go run into the CPAC conference so they can all stand in a room together and chant 3-syllable, easy-to-remember slogans like lock her up and build the wall and stop the steal. It's one of their all-time favorite things to do. However, Caitlyn Jenner was invited to speak, as she is currently trying to get into the runoff for the gubernatorial election in California, gave a few speeches, and well, a lot of conservatives were less than enthused about having a trans woman, conservative or not, coming and giving speeches at their event because, you know, they're not down with trans women or homosexuality or pretty much anything that Jesus doesn't like. Yes, that portion of the party. However, other Republican conservatives came to the defense of Caitlyn Jenner and reminded everybody, A, Caitlyn Jenner is a human being, B, Caitlyn Jenner has a lot of bandwidth and can get a lot of coverage, and C, is a staunch conservative Republican and that they all need to support each other. Needless to say, this sort of conflict got a little hairy on the social media for a few days. In fact, it got so bad, even people like Candace Owens were dunking on Tomi Lahren for supporting a trans woman regardless of whether or not she was conservative. Why would Candace Owens and others come out and dunk on Tomi Lahren and the likes of her? Well, because they represent and are the talking heads for evangelical Christians and the MAGA movement. You know, a lot of the Q folk, the fringe, the far right of the far right. This is where specific grifters, such as Candace Owens, really make their money, is pandering to these people. And so, the schism in the Republican Party became very public, as they all argued back and forth for days on social media. Now, normally, you would just consider this to be a dust-up and go, hey, no harm, no foul, they're going to move on, everything's going to be okay. However, this week, we had yet another incidence of conservative on conservative crime. This one at Turning Point USA. Now, for those who don't know, Turning Point USA is the brainchild of Charlie Kirk, a human being who literally looks like human skin stretched over a 5-foot-tall brain. Charlie Kirk goes from town to town and college campus to college campus trying to motivate and organize and excite young conservative voters. You know, get them while they're young and impressionable. In fact, he's even moved now to doing high schools. By the way, Charlie, totally not creepy to have a 30-year-old dude with a large head trolling around elementary schools and hanging out with 9-year-olds. You might want to reconsider this specific strategy, but I digress. At the most recent Turning Points USA conference, there was an adult film star who apparently is somewhat famous, and she is conservative, and she is a MAGA person, and she's gotten a lot of visibility on a lot of Trump and MAGA issues back in the day. Well, she was invited to come to Turning Point USA even as a VIP. But of course, once the Jesus-y portion of conservatives and Republicans found out who she was and what she did for a living, the finger of recrimination came out and everybody started doing some of this. A porn star was kicked out of a conservative event targeted at high schoolers after complaints from outraged parents. Brandi Love, 48, attended the Student Action Summit with Turning Point USA in Tampa, Florida on Saturday and posed for photos in front of exhibits and a Save America tour bus, but was suddenly kicked out after backlash from parents and Christian organizers. That's right, the people who listened to God Almighty, who said be fruitful and multiply, are still apparently against sex. They're not. They love sex. They love doing vile, debaucherous shit. They just have to act like they're against it. They're all like the mayor from Footloose. You know that guy was, getting his chicka chicka bow wow on, but he wouldn't even let people dance in town. Why? Because conservatives don't dance. I'm sorry if the Footloose reference was a little too far back in the past, but if you're like 40 and over, you're going to love that one. Brandy Love spent her first day at CPAC proudly touring around, tweeting out how amazing it was, hanging out with fellow conservatives, getting to talk about conservative values and how to make America a better, more conservative place. Look, she's even in front of the Save America Freedom Tour bus. That Brandi Love. She likes liberty and freedom. Look at how excited and happy she is. Oh, wait, what's that? Oh, hold on. It appears 2 hours later, a totally different tweet happened. Quote, I can't make this shit up. I just watched Charlie Kirk, Dan Bongino, Rick Scott, and Kat Timpf speak about freedom, censorship, and how inclusive the movement is. And then they had me thrown out of the Turning Point USA conference. The Republican Party is broken. Ooh. Brandi Love defended her career choice, claiming that it is logical and sound-minded to defend adult entertainment, as the Supreme Court themselves also did. Now, as a member of the left, I do not shame people for sex work. Sex work is work, and sex workers are entitled to just as much dignity and respect as any other worker in any other field. If you are a member of the working class, you should have solidarity with Brandi Love, not sneer at her or make derisive comments about her. This is what she does. As a worker, we should have respect for her because obviously a certain portion of conservatives do not. Now this is where the hypocrisy train goes into overdrive. Buckle up, kids. This one's about to get bumpy. Of all people, of all the different conservative talking heads, Jenna Ellis was the one who came out on top of the scrum as the most offended by Brandi Love's existence. That's right, Jenna Ellis. If you don't remember who Jenna Ellis is, don't feel bad. It's because she's on Newsmax now, and like 38 people a day watch Newsmax Live. However, she is a former Trump employee and somebody who's going out of her way to start, quote, nonprofit groups to defend voter integrity so that more elections don't get stolen, you know, like the Donald Trump election. Now, if you don't still remember who she was, let me remind you, she went to court a lot with Rudy Giuliani, working in conjunction with him, attempting to get election results overthrown. Here's a clip of her work.
The answer that I gave you is they didn't bother to interview a single witness. Just like you, they don't want to know the truth.
Not part of that.
I will ask that he be disciplined for that. First of all,
hold on.
Yeah, now you remember who Jenna Ellis is, right? Yeah, she was the one who got farted on and then had that look on her face on live television because that's what happens when you work for Donald Trump. However, she's gone from getting farted on by Rudy Giuliani to being a host over at Newsmax and on some radio shows and on the internet. She is everywhere, taking that far, far right ideology as far as she can go to get injected into the conservative talking head movement as a major player. That's right, Jenna Ellis came out swinging. That's right, she was going to show Brandy Love and all those horrible rhinos and faux conservatives what it means to be a conservative. And apparently Jenna Ellis wants everybody to know that being a conservative means it's not cancel culture when you do it for standards or morality, both of which are completely individual values that each independent individual in the world places upon different people, things, and incidents. However, Jenna Ellis is speaking to the larger conservative standards and conservative ideology. She is placing herself as the spokesperson for conservatives everywhere, trying to one-up Candace Owens and her tweet on Tomi Lahren last week. Jenna Ellis went full bore, both barrels open. Turning Point USA should be applauded, is what Jenna Ellis says. Yes, we should applaud Turning Point USA for getting rid of Caitlyn Jenner. And when she got pushback on her own thread, she wanted to let people know that not all discrimination is unlawful and not all discrimination is immoral. Ergo, she is fine saying that private organizations or publicly held companies should be able to discriminate because not all discrimination is bad. And perhaps we should all embrace more discrimination as long as we are basing our discrimination upon our own individual moral codes. This is the Jenna Ellis hot take of the week, which is really funny because last week her hot take was that private social media corporations are the workaround on the First Amendment, and that private corporations should not be allowed to censor people in any way. And in fact, the U.S. government should be facilitating all citizens' rights pertaining to being able to exercise their free speech whenever and wherever they want. Unless, of course, that person happens to be a trans woman at a conservative conference. Then it's totally okay to discriminate against human beings and their free speech. So what does this mean for you and us as it relates to the 2022 and 2024 elections? Well, it's still a little early to tell yet. Now, it would be nice to think that this sort of schism would continue to spread, because this would be the first time we've had a solid block of elections where the Republican Party has not been completely unified in almost 50 years. However, as always, the wild card is still Donald Trump. Whether or not he runs, whether or not he endorses, whether or not being 310 pounds with a 4-digit cholesterol count means that he doesn't even get to 2024. And then if that happens, who's going to take over for him? So there are a lot of questions still left to be asked. However, liberals, Democrats, radicals, here's my advice to you. Don't butt in. Let these people devour each other. Let them eat themselves. This is fine. Just get yourself a bag of popcorn, kick back, enjoy the show, and we'll cycle back around in like another year or so, and we'll discuss how we could play this into a positive strategy, depending on who comes out on top. Until next time, my name is James. I'm from the internet, and I'm out. Peace.